Hello, everyone, and welcome to Simon's Trading Channel. My name is Simon, and I do a daily Bitcoin price action analysis. Happy Wednesday to you, halfway through the week. Although probably with a 7-day week, you need to be 3.5 days in. So it'll probably only be halfway at midnight in the UK. So not quite halfway through yet. But as far as we are through this week, the candle is a bit red. It's got a bit of a red tinge to it. Now, who knows if it will remain in such a colour or it'll turn green? Nobody. And we shouldn't judge yet because it's not the end of the week. And the closure, of course, for this exchange, Bybit, happens Sunday at midnight. So we'll wait and see. But so far this week, it's a red one. Before we get into the lower time frames where we can see a bit more detail, I just want to remind you I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. So let's just jump straight down to the 4-hour where you can see my weekly random line of randomness as support and my daily line of randomness as support there. What is clearly above that is this delightful, very familiar, like a smelly old shoe. It's been with me for so long. This range, this 4-hour range, and going back to the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, not once has it broken and closed, particularly closed above the top of the range, and not once has it broken and closed below the bottom of the range, both being my lines of randomness, of course. And then the midline is just in a logical area I've drawn on there. This dotted line I'll show you in just a moment, but it pertains to the 15-minute chart. So this is the range. It will remain the range until Bitcoin fulfills the criteria that I just outlined, the 4-hour closure above or a 4-hour closure below. Up until then, range is the name of the game. I think some people call themselves range traders. I don't know. I don't call myself anything apart from a bit weird. Now, if I was to label myself, I'd say I'd be a trend trader, and I'll explain more why in a second. So this is that same range on the 4-hour, but on the 15-minute, you get a bit more detail. So you can see it went up, it came down, it went up, it came down, it went up, came down, up, and down all in one day. That was interesting yesterday. It was both long and short in one 24-hour period. Very exciting. And then back up to basically my bedtime. And then overnight, it's come back down. Don't you just wish you could stay awake for 24 hours and trade all of these moves? I wish I could, but I would be very grumpy because if I don't have enough sleep, my little brain turns into like an angry soul. Although it doesn't turn into an angry soul, it turns into a intolerant soul. But I'm very well rested today, so I'm feeling very tolerant. I don't even know what that means. Just ignore it. I should probably stick to talking about price action and not my sleep-dependent brain. All right, so zooming in on the current price action. So there's a 15-minute chart. And since it was rejected at the bottom, it has clearly been in a downtrend with a couple of lower highs. Might be one here, but too early to say. And, well, yeah, a couple of lower lows. One obvious low and one obvious high. So this is what I mean about if I was going to label myself, I'd label myself as a trend trader because for this downtrend to change, so just talking about the lower time frames now, because the higher time frame, 4-hour and above, are super bullish, obviously. 4 hours and below, sideways. But on the lower time frames, you could say this is an uptrend, this is a downtrend, right? And so that's when identification of a trend helps me. And that's what I like to do. And so for this to not be a downtrend, and the reason why I would be interested in it not being a downtrend anymore is that it looks like it might bounce off the bottom of the range, just like it has in the past. But for it not to continue as a downtrend, it needs to do two things. It needs to do that. And those two things are, from this low, it needs to come up. Because if it doesn't come up, it's not a low, it's just continuing downtrend. So it needs to come up a bit. And then I'd like it to come back down a bit and then go back up a bit. So I'd like it to produce a high from this low. This would be a high. And then if it comes back down a bit and then turns up a bit, this would then be a higher low. So this would be a low, this would be a high, this would be a higher low. And that sequence is no longer a downtrend. It's the start, it's not an established, but it's the start of an uptrend. So the start of an uptrend from an area of support, to me, is just me personally, is a signal for me to think about going long rather than going short. And remember, one of the 3 golden rules of trading: never never short support. This is at support. So shorting this now goes against one of the 3 golden rules of trading. The other golden rule of trading was demonstrated here: never long resistance. Never long resistance. And then the third and most important golden rule: the trend is your friend. 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 Blah, 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 blah. You see what I mean, okay? So that's an interesting line I just drew on there. So yeah, that's what I'm just looking at the price action, putting in some lines of support resistance, and then seeing what happens. And as soon as I can identify in my tiny mind what the most recent trend is relative to some support resistance areas, then I follow it. So I'm basically, as a trader, I'm a follower. I am an absolute follower. I am a sheep. I am a sheep for the price action. So there you go. That's 8 minutes of me whittering on. Do me a favor. If you've enjoyed it, like and subscribe. If you haven't enjoyed it, don't, and ignore me for the rest of your life. But if you'd like to see me every day doing a Bitcoin price action analysis along these lines, then if you subscribe, it'll pop up in your notifications and then you won't forget. Other than that, I want to wish you a marvelous Wednesday, and I'll catch you tomorrow.